Millions in Syria and Iraq are facing water shortages as the region's longest river, the Euphrates, dries up.
The water level in Venice, Italy, is so low that it is impossible to row a boat. In France, it did not rain for more than 30 consecutive days. In the Middle East, the Fertile Crescent turns into a desert, making those who see it in awe. Surely this news has continuously appeared recently, but amid all the drought-related news, the drying up of the Euphrates River has sparked doomsday worries because in the Bible, Revelation, the drying up of the Euphrates River is like the Zionist Jews, one of the signs of the end of the world. Is the predicted end of the world coming? I invite you to watch until the end of this video to discover the secrets under this famous river, which shocked Ghana scientists. The river is disappearing. Flows in the Euphrates River system have dropped to nearly half the average annual flow during dry years. The amount of water stored behind the Euphrates Dam has decreased from 14 billion cubic meters to only 10 billion due to depletion, causing the lake to lose 75% of its effective reserve. The drying up of the river has drawn a lot of attention to it. People are interested in science, geography, society, and at the same time, pay extremely close attention to the spiritual aspect behind it. What happens if the Euphrates dries up, at least in Iraq? What will happen next in this nightmare scenario? Agriculture, livestock, and industries dependent on water would wither and die. Millions of people would lose their livelihoods and would not have access to plentiful clean water for drinking and washing. This could lead to mass disease outbreaks, civil unrest, and the migration of millions of refugees into neighboring countries, including Turkey and Iran. War could conceivably result. Burdened with increasing numbers of refugees, Iran might ally with Iraq to destroy one or more of Turkey's dams and release the flow of water. However, because Turkey is a NATO ally, this would obligate the United States and European NATO countries to defend Turkey and go to war with Iran and Iraq. So you can see this problem is serious enough to wreak havoc not only in the affected countries themselves, but in the world at large. In addition, the drying up of the river also reveals many interesting and mysterious things. Let's see what we found. The angel at the Euphrates. Found the angel at the Euphrates as the sixth trumpet sounds in the Apocalypse. St. John, seen in the right margin, hears a voice from the golden altar. The illuminator identified the voice as the Lord's by including the bottom of a mandora with the Lord's feet resting on an orb. The voice tells the angel with the trumpet to release the four angels who had been bound in the river Euphrates. In the miniature, these four avenging angels rise from the river with their weapons ready to fulfill their mission of killing a third of the people on earth. And when the river dries up, how will this story unfold? We know that these are demonic beings because they are described as bound demons, fallen angels, many of whom are bound in chains of gloomy darkness. The relation of God's angels and the Euphrates River. God's good angels are not bound but are free, as are some of Satan's angels, demons. Ephesians 6:12 tells us, "We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." The region of the Euphrates, where these four angels are bound, has a notorious relationship to human sin. The first murder was committed, presumably not far from the Garden of Eden in the Fertile Crescent. You can see this in Genesis 4:8. The first war in Genesis 14 Confederacy took place in that region. In Genesis 10, Nimrod began his kingdom there. Babylonian idolatry sprang up in the region and will be judged there. You can find this story in Zechariah 5 and Revelation 18. Some interpret the four angels as symbolic figures representing various spiritual forces or destructive powers at work in the world during the end times. They are seen as agents of judgment or instruments of God's wrath. Others suggest that the four angels may represent fallen angels or demonic entities associated with the region of the Euphrates River. This interpretation connects with the idea that these beings are released to bring about destruction and chaos. Certain interpretations propose that the four angels represent actual historical figures or powers, such as military leaders or nations associated with the Euphrates region. This view links the imagery to specific geopolitical events or conflicts. God had planned significant destruction to the Roman Empire that had persecuted the Church. That destruction was delayed so that God could arrange for his people's protection. Revelation 9 tells us that even after the damage caused by the releasing of the angels, the wicked did not learn any lessons and did not change. So it can be said that the depletion of the Euphrates is just one of the signs of his presence. Everything reminds us that God is ultimately in control of these events, allowing or announcing each one. At no point in the end times is evil allowed to run entirely out of control. If the four angels are underneath in the underworld, then that might be the only thing protecting us all, the earth, separating flesh from spiritual screams that could drop large groups of spirit-flesh beings from spirit beings that can shriek in airwaves and vibrations that are lethal to humans. If that's true, we can't stop it from coming. Four shrieking beasts whose screams would shake the whole earth. Jesus is coming back. You also know this river is extremely important to the children of God. About 4,000 years ago, Abraham followed God's summons from his hometown, Ur, across the Euphrates River to Canaan. Canaan roughly corresponds to modern-day Israel and the west bank of the Jordan River. This is the land God gave to Abraham and his descendants, also known as the Promised Land. The Euphrates River is one of the boundaries of Canaan. The end times have been upon us from the ministry of Christ on. That's 2,000 years of waiting to see if the sun still rises tomorrow. Rather than worry, let us have faith in what Christ taught. No man knoweth, and it will come as a thief in the night. Those who are faithful will be prepared, not just spiritually for having repented, but physically and mentally. They will be able to do their work without worry and anxiety. The point of these signs is to give us courage and faith to know that we're on the right course, even though the going is rough. Let us not worry about when that great day arrives then, and push forward as though every day is the last, knowing that our efforts will be rewarded accordingly. The Euphrates River is drying up, whether through natural or political causes. It makes little difference. What is significant is that John prophesied 2,000 years ago that it would happen as one of the signs of the last days. Believe the Bible or not, it seems to be coming up with some pretty strong evidence that Christ will soon return. Be prepared to meet him. Why is God's promised land so barren? Natural water sources in the Canaan area essentially depend on rainwater. Every year, around November, there is an autumn rain that moistens the dry land, making it loose and very suitable for growing crops. In March and April of the following year, there will be another spring rain so that plants have enough water to grow, which is also important for having a good harvest. Without autumn rain, the land cannot be planted, and without spring rain, crops cannot be harvested. If God's people follow his instructions, he will send down two rains at the right time so that the weather here will be favorable and life will be prosperous. If God's words are not obeyed, the two rains will not come on time, leading to crop failure, and people's lives will face many difficulties. That is why some biblical scholars say that in the land of Canaan, geography and religion come together. And this place is a spiritual classroom arranged by God himself, a place for training, practice, faith. This is why Canaan is called the Promised Land. Only those who listen to God will be cared for by God, the reborn of Jerusalem. After 1400, during the time of King Zedekiah of the kingdom of Judah, the Jews gradually turned their backs on God, to the point where God could not tolerate them. So God decided to take back the Promised Land. But God is always merciful. Therefore, he sent the prophet Jeremiah to warn the world to see if there was still a chance for them to stay or not. Jeremiah went to Jerusalem to look around and saw that the whole city was full of wickedness and disloyalty. Everyone, regardless of high or low status, is greedy for unjust assets. People do things that God does not allow, such as murder, theft, hypocrisy, adultery, lying. Both prophets and priests are speaking false prophecies, pretending that everyone is doing well. People are naive and don't know anything, but they still love to listen. The more Jeremiah looked, the sadder he became. He ran to the gates of the sanctuary and began to shout that danger was coming from the north, that it wanted to destroy the cities of Judah. But no one paid attention to him. Jeremiah even took the potter's jar and broke it in public, telling everyone that God would also break the people's Jerusalem and Judah. But people still didn't react. Jeremiah prophesied that one day a drought would come with swords and spears and their water supply would dry up. The Medes of Persia will take over their kingdom. The arrogant king of Babylon did not believe it at all. Why? Babylon was built on the banks of the Euphrates River. Since ancient times, the water of the Euphrates River has been very abundant. The river rushed through the city, and the Babylonians lived in peace and prosperity. The powerful Babylonian city was surrounded by a large wall with a wide moat outside. The palace of King Nebuchadnezzar II is particularly beautiful, surrounded by many gardens and canals, which are said to be like paradise. In the face of such a powerful city, God decided to do something very unexpected. God sent a sign to King Nebuchadnezzar II. He dreamt that he saw a huge statue made of 5 different metals. The head was made of gold, the chest and arms were made of silver, the belly and thighs were made of copper, the legs were made of iron, and the feet were made of clay. The king woke up and was very disturbed. He called for his prophet Daniel, who interpreted the dream to mean that the statue represented a series of kingdoms that would come and go, each one weaker than the last. The gold head represented Nebuchadnezzar's own kingdom, the Babylonian Empire, which was the most powerful but would soon be conquered by a weaker kingdom. Nebuchadnezzar did not believe this interpretation. To reassure himself, he ordered a gold statue to be built and decreed that everyone must bow down to it. Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refused to worship the idol. They were thrown into a fiery furnace as punishment, but they were miraculously saved by God. After this event, Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom gradually weakened. His grandson Belshazzar succeeded him as king. Belshazzar continued to mock God by using the gold and silver cups stolen from the temple in Jerusalem to drink wine at a banquet. Suddenly, a hand appeared and wrote mysterious words on the wall. No one could understand them. Daniel was called to interpret the writing. He revealed that it was a message from God, foretelling the fall of Belshazzar's kingdom. That very night, the Persian army led by Cyrus the Great invaded Babylon. The city fell without a fight, and Belshazzar was killed. Cyrus allowed the Jews to return to their homeland and rebuild their temple in Jerusalem. This marked the end of the Babylonian Empire and the beginning of the Persian Empire. God had kept his promise to punish the wicked and deliver his people. So, you see, the drying up of the Euphrates River is not just a physical event, but a spiritual one as well. It is a sign of God's judgment on the wicked and his faithfulness to his people. We must pay attention to these signs and be prepared for the return of Christ.